G'day guys, it's Frank here from Dive Flag Out in Burleigh Heads, Queensland, Australia, here at the anti-shark culling protest. It was quite a good demonstration today. A couple of 100 people turned up. Fantastic support for our fin friends. Speaking as a diver, somebody who dives with sharks and loves diving with sharks as often as I can, as somebody who actually interacts with them, I think it's absolutely a waste of money, it's a waste of resources, and it's just pure animal cruelty to perform the shark cull. It comes down to ignorance, and we've got to do our best to actually educate people in this matter. But yeah, it's for the sharks.
About social media, if you see a petition on social media, spend 5 minutes, take the time, fill it in, get the numbers up so the politicians can see that there's a lot of people out there that don't want the cull, and to see how senseless it is. We've got a heap of speakers here today that are going to give you some more information, a bit more knowledgeable than myself. We're going to have an auction on a painting that's being done here right at the moment. We'll have your name signed on it for the person that wins the auction, so it'll be personalised. We're going to run speeches till about 12 o'clock, and then we'll hit 2 paintings. Wicked. So we're going to have speeches till about 12 o'clock, and then we'll head down to the beach in an unorderly fashion, making a lot of noise and letting everyone know that we're here. We'll get together down there and get a few photos up to put on Facebook, and we're going to have petitions in underneath the undercovered area. If you could take the time and get in there and sign them. There'll be surveys and stuff as well. I think that's about it. Lynn Sutherland is a local filmmaker that's been around here for about 20 years, diving and diving instructor. She's an enthusiastic person about the environment. She's been making travel series for Discovery Asia. She's going to come and talk to us a little bit more about it and what she's seen over the last 20 years diving and the changes, and I'll hand you over to Lynn. Give her a nice big hand.
Thanks, Puppy. Got a good fan. Well, it is awesome to see such a good crowd here today, because it really is nice to see people standing up for sharks, one of the most misunderstood creatures on our planet. I'm here to sort of talk about the ocean environment and the importance of the ocean environment. I've done thousands and thousands of dives with sharks, and look, I'm still here. So they don't just meaninglessly eat people. In fact, most of the time I have to work really hard to be able to see a shark or find a shark, especially now, because when I first started diving 20 years ago, maybe even more, maybe 25 years ago, when I was just really young, when I used to jump into the water, what I would see is this incredible ecosystem just chock full of life. There were so many fish, there were so many different species of fish, there were turtles, there were sharks, there were rays, there were just so many different animals in our seas. Now I can still go and find that, but I have to go further and I have to go wider to find the species that we used to see so readily when I first started diving. Now when I first started diving, I dived in a place called the Coral Sea off Townsville, 140 miles out to sea, at a place called the Phineas Reef. And we used to get there, lots of schooling pelagics, and we actually used to do a shark dive called Scuba Zoo. And we used to bring the sharks in, and people used to love it. It was the highlight of the trip, because they could get in the water with all these sharks moving around them, and they would get out of the water with a total different appreciation of what sharks are all about. Now I just did a dive in the Coral Sea to a place called Ashmore Reef that we dived 20 years ago. We did a lot of the write-ups on Ashmore. We go 100 miles out to sea. Ashmore is one of Australia's most remote reefs. It's right up the top of Australia. When I jumped in the water this time, I was so excited, because the last time I was there, it was so beautiful. There were lots of big corals, there were lots of sharks, there were lots of species of fish. We jumped in the water at Ashmore after spending 2 days trying to get out there because of weather and just anxious to get out there. And when I went down underwater and looked at this environment, we actually nicknamed it Trashmore Reef. Now, it's not a nice name to give it, but we nicknamed it because pretty much the whole reef, all the corals had died off the reef. The staghorns were lying off the reef. They looked like ghost bombies. We were lucky to find a shark in the first 3 days of diving. It was over 2 to 3 foot long. Whereas when we used to dive that area, the sharks were 6 or 7 foot on average, and we would see lots and lots of them. So we spent the next 4 days, 5 days diving this area. That was really a different environment to what it used to be like. And over the last 20 years, we've lost 50% of our Great Barrier Reef. And was I really soft? Was I too soft? Okay. Over the last 20 years, we've lost 50% of our Great Barrier Reef, and that's nothing to be proud of at all. Now, the thing that's happening in WA with the sharks, if you understand what's happening with the shark cull, does everyone understand what's going on with it? They've had 7 shark fatalities over a number of years in Western Australia. At the same time, they've had 524 road deaths. But what they've done is they've kind of hit the panic button and decided to drumline and bait and kill any shark over 3 metres. But by setting all these drum lines, they actually bring the sharks into the area, which I think is kind of sort of nuts. But they also kill a lot of other marine life. And when you look at how fewer sharks are living in our ocean right now, and how sharks are actually an apex predator that can control what happens in our oceans, without our sharks, we lose our fish and we lose our fish species.
Next speaker is Sarah Shark, Sarah Richmond. She's a marine biologist. She's done a 5-part, 6-part movie series with it's all about sharks and the politics and the business side and everything that goes along with it. So big hand of applause for Sarah, and I'll hand it over to her.
So as Steve said, my name is Sarah Richmond, but I suppose I'm probably best known as Sarah Shark. Anyone that's seen me talk knows that I get a little bit nervous up here, and in terms of shaking my nerves, I like to get everyone to really, strongly yell shark at me, alright? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Shark! Alright, again. 1, 2, 3. Shark! Alright, I'm feeling good. Okay, thank you. So for those who don't know about the Sarah Shark films, it's a series of 6 films, and they focus on the resident species of sharks that we find here in Australia. They're very fact-based, based on science. We look at natural history, and things like we go into detail about the flake industry, things about mercury levels in seafood and the extremely high levels found in shark meat. And we also, in one of our episodes, spent quite a long time researching and trying to put out information about the Queensland Shark Control Program that operates just off our beaches here. And I feel that's quite important to mention today because it's similar to what they're planning on putting in place over in WA. In that there will be baited drumlines, possibly nets in the future. Admittedly, WA is a much more targeted approach, which isn't necessarily a good thing. I suppose it's important to mention that because a loss of life, no matter where it is, and both human or shark, is a tragedy, no matter the location. And I know I wasn't here 50 odd years ago when the Queensland Shark Control Program was put in place. But we're all here today to stand up to what's about to happen in WA, or what is happening in WA. Someone actually posted an article on the Sarah Shark Facebook page a couple of days ago, and the article was titled WA's Right to Cull. And the author of this article wrote about how, the WA government has a right to protect their people, and spoke about how, we do large crocodile culls around up in northern Australia all year round, and that helps save lives from crocodile attacks. He then went on to explain how he was so gobsmacked about the controversy that this WA shark cull had arised. And after reading this article, I thought, he had a very well written argument. Not that I agreed with very much of it, but I looked into it and I thought perhaps it created such controversy because around 85% of Australians, when they put out a poll, said that they were not in favour of a shark cull. And around 82% of us believe that we swim in the ocean at our own risk. So the controversy that surrounds this is that the vast majority of Australians do not want it. So I kind of began to ask myself, why is this happening? If not many of us actually want this to happen, how is it that it's going ahead? Well, as you all know, the Western Australian Premier Colin Barnett, he hopes that culling sharks will save lives. And I think the key word there is hopes, because I, as a scientist, thought, okay, well, surely there's been shark cull somewhere else in the world, and has it proven to be effective? And I found one really big problem with these hope in this shark cull is that there's no evidence to say that shark culls are effective. In fact, there's quite the opposite. There's only been one systematic cull that's similar to what's going to happen in WA, and that was in Hawaii, where they killed around 4,500 sharks. They shot them, and it cost the Hawaiian government around $300,000. And after it all finished, after it had ceased, they found that the attacks in the area remained the exact same. Didn't increase, didn't decrease, they remained completely neutral. And the Hawaiian Institute of Marine Biology has consistently and repeatedly publicly said that it was an ineffective, or at very best neutral, policy. So I began to ask myself why we're following in these footsteps and wasting good taxpayer money on something that is, the chances are, not going to actually affect the risk of shark attacks. I actually read an article this morning, and a journalist wrote that culling a species threatened with extinction is like stomping on cockroaches after you've chemically bombed your house. And I thought that that was a really powerful way to describe it. It's, you know, we're kind of kicking them when they're down, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Sharks are a slow-growing, late-maturing, and obviously low-fecundity species, which we all know, and we all know and love these sharks, as Lynn quite passionately spoke about before. We know they're declining worldwide. We can see that, and science stipulates that. So because of, you know, their life structure, sorry about that.
Can you guys not hear that down there?
Can you hear me? Yeah? A little bit? Okay. So yeah, it makes their chances of recovery very slow and very hard. And that's what bothers me the most about this shark cull, is that we don't have any answers to questions that should have been pre-understood and pre-known before we started this whole cull. For example, for me, and I know a lot of other scientists have come out and said this, that this should not come down to the emotional question of who's more important, human or shark. It's not about that. It needs to be more like we're asking the questions of, will culling sharks actually reduce the risk of a shark attack? With technology and science advancing today, you know, you can, the WA Surf Lifesaving have a Twitter page where they've tagged sharks, and you can log on to Twitter, and these the sharks have receivers, and every time they come within, I think it's about a 300-metre radius from these receivers on the beaches, you can look on Twitter and it'll ping up on Twitter saying, hey, I'm here. So for example, we could go out and tag a shark and name it Sarah, just hypothetically. And you can log on to your Twitter and look at what Sarah the shark is doing and where she is. And if she's close to the beaches, you can go, hey, I might not swim right now, or I might go tomorrow, or I might wait till she moves on. And the surf lifesavers that are on those beaches can look at that every day. Sorry, I'm really quiet. So what I'm trying to get at is that this money, this $600,000 that's being spent over the span of 3 months to remove these sharks, could be so much better well spent on advancing technology and advancing science and trying to find ways that are actually going to work in the long run to help protect sharks. I have a bit of an interesting question for you all now. I'd like to know, well, an easy one for you. Show of hands, how many people are here today that are against the shark cull? Okay, I thought that might be the result. Another question that might be a bit harder, how many people here want to be a politician? We got one, we got a few, okay. Well, I think that's where the problem is. We need people like all of you and on the inside. And I'm certainly not jumping forward because I don't think I'd make a great politician. And I certainly don't think I would enjoy it that much. But no. But I thought I'd bring that up here and pose the question to you all, so that when you walk away today, if any of you are hating your jobs and looking for a career change, or any young kids here that are passionate about science and about the environment. I've done a Bachelor of Science degree, and we did do environmental law, and I enjoyed it, but I wasn't very good at it. So anyone that seems to have a knack for that stuff, I strongly urge you to try get into it, because we need people like us on the inside. Otherwise nothing's going to happen and nothing's going to change. And if anyone does decide to run, I'll stand behind you 100%. Finally, for me, it kind of comes down to a few things. There'll always be two sides of every story, and there'll always be people standing on each side, hurling their opinions at the other, and trying to make themselves heard. And some people's morals are very different from another, and it's hard to say who's right and who's wrong. I know which side of that I stand on, and all of you do too. But it's very unlikely that we will ever reach an agreement on the subject of whether it's ethical to kill large predators such as sharks or crocodiles, and that's especially in order to make the natural environment a safer playground for humans. What we can do though is demand a science-driven approach to controversial issues such as this. For example, we should be demanding the government to tell us how will the state define success of these programs and how will they be measured? And also, what are the impacts of culling likely to be on various Australian shark populations and their natural prey, and how will they assess this? Because at the moment they're going out there gun-ho, removing each shark they find, but we don't even know what the maximum amount of sharks they plan to remove is. We don't know what the likely impacts it's going to be on the ecosystem, and especially on an ecosystem level as a whole. Finally, I suppose
next speaker is Sarah Shark, Sarah Richmond. She's a marine biologist. She's done a 5-part, 6-part movie series with it's all about sharks and the politics and the business side and everything that goes along with it. So big hand of applause for Sarah, and I'll hand it over to her.
As Steve said, my name is Sarah Richmond, but I suppose I'm probably best known as Sarah Shark. Anyone that's seen me talk knows that I get a little bit nervous up here, and in terms of shaking my nerves, I like to get everyone to really, strongly yell shark at me, alright? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Shark! Alright, again, 1, 2, 3. Shark! Alright, I'm feeling good. Okay, thank you. So for those who don't know about the Sarah Shark films, it's a series of 6 films, and they focus on the resident species of sharks that we find here in Australia. They're very fact-based, based on science. We look at natural history, and things like we go into detail about the flake industry, things about mercury levels in seafood and the extremely high levels found in shark meat. And we also, in one of our episodes, spent quite a long time researching and trying to put out information about the Queensland Shark Control Program that operates just off our beaches here. And I feel that's quite important to mention today, because it's similar to what they're planning on putting in place over in WA, in that there will be baited drumlines, possibly nets in the future. Admittedly, WA is a much more targeted approach, which isn't necessarily a good thing. I suppose it's important to mention that because a loss of life, no matter where it is, and both human or shark, is a tragedy, no matter the location. And I know I wasn't here 50 odd years ago when the Queensland Shark Control Program was put in place, but we're all here today to stand up to what's about to happen in WA, or what is happening in WA. Someone actually posted an article on the Sarah Shark Facebook page a couple of days ago, and the article was titled "WA's Right to Cull." And the author of this article wrote about how, the WA government has a right to protect their people, and spoke about how, we do large crocodile culls around up in northern Australia all year round, and that helps save lives from crocodile attacks. He then went on to explain how he was so gobsmacked about the controversy that this WA shark cull had arised. And after reading this article, I thought, he had a very well-written argument. Not that I agreed with very much of it, but I looked into it and I thought perhaps it created such controversy because around 85% of Australians, when they put out a poll, said that they were not in favour of a shark cull. And around 82% of us believe that we swim in the ocean at our own risk. So the controversy that surrounds this is that the vast majority of Australians do not want it. So I kind of began to ask myself, why is this happening? If not many of us actually want this to happen, how is it that it's going ahead? Well, as you all know, the Western Australian Premier Colin Barnett, he hopes that culling sharks will save lives. And I think the key word there is hopes, because I, as a scientist, thought, okay, well,
Thank you very much for all coming today. Thank you to the organizers for organizing this wonderful rally. It's really amazing to see everyone here. I work at the Australian Marine Conservation Society. We work on marine conservation issues around Australia, fisheries, sharks, the Great Barrier Reef, everything really marine that really needs our help and attention. And this past few weeks, our attention has definitely turned to the Western Australian shark cull, which we're very sad to say has now gone ahead. But I want to just point out that look at all these beautiful people that are here today. I want to have everyone give themselves a big cheer for being here. It makes me really happy to see all these people that really care and support the sharks, and that's wonderful. So everyone knows that we're here today to protest and rally against the Western Australian shark cull. The Western Australian government has now set drum lines on the southwest coast and the Perth metropolitan coast, and they sadly caught their first shark this past Australia Day, a beautiful female tiger shark about 3 meters long who will never be able to breed or to contribute to her population again. And that's a huge shame that I know we all feel, especially happening on Australia Day in this beautiful country. So everyone knows it's happening, but I just want to take a brief survey to make sure we're all on the same page. So everyone who supports the Western Australian shark cull, yell yay! Yay! Okay, we got a few yays. We'll just do it one more time just to make sure. Who supports the Western Australian shark cull? Oh, okay, wait, they changed their minds. And who is against the Western Australian shark cull? Okay, let's yell it one more time so we can have everyone in Western Australia hear you at all the rallies around Australia. One more time. Who is against the Western Australian shark cull? That's amazing. Thank you. So we all know that they're doing this in the name of safety, but there is really no evidence that these drum lines will increase beach safety. And I also think it's important that we don't just point our fingers in the west, we have to point them back on ourselves as well. The Queensland government puts drum lines and nets across many beaches in Queensland, here as well. And I don't know if you guys realize, but netting, I didn't know this, I thought that nets were a barrier across the beach that protected swimmers, but nets are actually intended to just purely kill sharks. They don't actually cover the whole beach. A lot of sharks actually get caught on the way back out, coming from the beach, going back out to the ocean. And this program in Queensland has caught thousands of sharks. It catches protected species like dolphins, turtles, dugongs every year. And it's a huge shame as well on our government here. And we really need to stop this ridiculous practice when and that's something that we are going to be working on very hard this year, but we have to focus on Western Australia right now. That's why we're all here. So, there are solutions to the problem of shark attack, because obviously shark bites are not something that we want. We really feel for the people who have lost their lives and limbs, and also for their families. It's a huge shame. So there are better solutions that we can employ across Australia to actually stop these from happening. A great one is increasing surf lifesaving in areas that can actually monitor the water. We can have increased aerial surveys. The tweeting program that Sarah mentioned is a great one where they've tagged sharks in Western Australia, and when they swim by an underwater detecting station, they tweet to the lifesavers their location. They could increase that program with the thousands of dollars they're spending every day to try and kill the sharks. They could actually be learning more about the sharks. We have, increased public awareness of when not to swim and when it's safe to swim. There's so many solutions that they could actually do. The government itself has actually put millions of dollars into researching these solutions, but they just haven't implemented them as fully as they could. And so they have other options, and I think it's really important that they know, and we know here in Queensland as well, we have better options, and we can employ them. So just wrapping up, you know, obviously there's a petition going around here. I encourage everyone to sign the petition against the shark cull. We also have a petition on our website that you can find at sharksafe.org.au. You can sign that petition as well, which emails the Premier and also the Environment Minister, Greg Hunt, against the shark cull. And just let's have one last cheer to really show that everyone in Australia that we care so much. So, it's a bit of a repeat after me. So when I say, I'm going to say, do you support drumlines? And you're going to scream no as loud as you can. Ready? Do you support drumlines? No! Do you support drumlines? No! Do you support drumlines? No! Okay, the last one. When I say save, you say shark. Save! Shark! Save! Shark! When I say save, you say shark.
So the great white sharks in Western Australia are listed as rare or likely to become extinct under Schedule 5 of the Wildlife Conservation Act 1950 in 1999 and are protected under Schedule 46 of the Fish Resources Management Act 1994 in 1997. The population of these sharks are continuing to drop. Over the last 30 years, 90% of the shark population has dropped. So then why is Colin Barnett still applying his new shark cull policy? Colin doesn't want sharks near the beaches simply because he thinks they kill people. Yet he's bringing sharks in by putting the food they eat a kilometre off the shore. And a lot of the sharks he's had lately have been undersized. So basically he's bringing in sharks that he doesn't want there and then he's forced to let them go. So why are people scared of sharks? I can't wrap my head around what makes a shark scarier than dogs, jellyfish, snakes, and cows. And all 4 of those sharks do kill more humans every year than sharks do. I asked 23 of my friends why they hate sharks and why they're scared of sharks, since most of my friends do, and all answers included either, if not all, the media's portrayal, the shark's teeth, and how easy a shark can attack them. One of my friends even said she's scared of sharks because of all the recent attacks in Queensland. It just really goes to show that these people are so uneducated and they can't accept the facts because of their lack of education. Media is feeding people just lies and exaggerations that's now creating a massive fear that has got such a severe consequence on not only the sharks but the environment and furthermore us. The media is the fuel and the fire. But if the press turned around and started praising sharks and blaming humans for their incredibly low numbers, then the tides would turn and more people would jump in our bed.
Shark get dragged up the side of a boat with a hook hanging out of its head. A yobbo that couldn't tell it was a bull shark to a tiger shark, shooting it 4 times in the head, gutting it and dragging it out in the ocean. It annoyed me and it pissed me off, and if it pisses any of you off, get onto the petitions, get onto the sites, get onto the government and tell them that you don't like it and how wrong it is. On that,
Giving a voice to the voiceless. We're going to do a clean-up after the photo. If you've got time, 20 minutes or something. We've got bags and gloves here, so thank you everyone for coming down.
that can all happen while we've got the auction going. Thank you.
It is pretty dense, huh?
Give a shit about something bigger than yourself.
Look at the crowd surfer. Well, basically, we've not only have we studied marine biology, you look at the evolutionary history, sharks are super predators and it's their ocean. They've been there much longer before we have. We can't live in the water, it's their home, so culling them from their environment, it's just not good.
think it's a simple fact that us as human beings are part of this earth, and that sharks have much of a right to be here as humans do. And the fact that humans try and dominate this earth by killing what other animals have in their habitats just seems a bit irresponsible.
Beautiful.
I am totally against the shark cull in WA for many, many reasons. One being the fact that we don't seem to have a problem with any other marine life, but we decide to pick on the poor old sharks for no reason. It's pretty unjustified. It's just a bunch of ignorant people trying to run the government and obviously just using scare tactics to make them look like they're actually doing something. You know, sharks are absolutely beautiful creatures. I am a diver and I dive with sharks. I've never had a problem with them. They're absolutely majestic, beautiful creatures. Also an integral part of our ecosystem. And as an educator, I'm also a teacher. I actually really cringe to think about what we are teaching our younger generation, that it's okay to simply fix a problem by slapping a band-aid on it in an uneducated and unresearched manner. So say no to shark culling.